Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Isabel, and I am the Starlight Witch. It's been a hot minute, it's been a while. I had a lot of plans for last year and for both of my channels for everything that I wanted to do. And well, unfortunately, life was lifing, it was doing its thing. And between a myriad of things that are happening in my personal life that I really don't want to get into, also grief and the end of the year and just about everything, I just didn't have it in me to keep filming, to I don't know, put myself out there and talk and do things, I suppose. I got incredibly overwhelmed and I don't know, I just had to step out for a while. And the truth is that I've missed it. I've missed doing these videos, I missed connecting to people, I've missed just the whole thing. This is an expression of a passion and creativity and a number of things for me. So I did miss coming here and being able to do these little videos and show up for you guys. So, even though my life is still a mess and I still have a lot of things going on in my personal life, and well, I'm not perfect. I'm pretty sure that you can see it in my nails, they're an absolute mess. And I don't know, just so many things in my life are, and they will probably continue to be for a while. But I suppose that's okay. I still want to show up. I'm making a point of showing up in my altar and showing up for my people and for everything just the way that I am without trying to be perfect, without feeling like I need to have everything figured out, all the answers and all that jazz. So hopefully these will be okay too. I do, however, have a little bit of more space for filming. This is a different setup, and I hope that um, it's definitely more comfortable for me. I have more space, and I'm also trying a new type of lighting. Hopefully, I haven't even like done a sample video or anything yet, so I don't know if it's going to be the solution that I've been looking for to avoid the glare, but hopefully it will be. And well, if you can hear background noise, it's probably my cats on their litter box or eating or drinking because I'm kind of sharing the space with them. So apologies in advance for that. But let's get started with this very fun tag. I had a lot of fun watching all of your videos. This is, of course, the end of year tag by Chanel Days. I loved doing her mid year tarot tag last year, so I know that this one is also going to be a lot of fun. So let's get started. Prompt number one is a deck that you loved using the most this year. And I have plenty of options for these, but I had to choose this one. This is the Alchemy of the Spirit Oracle deck. It's by Cristina Gonzalez and it's published by Page Street Publishing. I have a whole walkthrough of this deck on my channel if you're interested. But this is a very beautiful deck that I got during 2025. I'm pretty sure it was published back then. These are the backs, some of my favorites, and I absolutely adore the smaller size of this deck. It's fantastic for my tiny hands, and yep, I just really love using this deck. I got it because of the art. I absolutely adore Christina's art style and her color palette and everything. The cards have a little white cat that shows up on each one of them that represents spirit, and there are stars and lots of color everywhere. So this was so me that I had to get it when it was published. And after working with it for a while, I have to say that I really, really like it. The way that I have been using this deck, and I will show you later on another prompt, is actually for weekly pulls. I've been pulling a card from this deck every single week and combining it with others, but again, I'm going to show you how and how it looks like and everything later on a different prompt. But I really do enjoy not just the art and the ideas that spring to my mind whenever I look at the keywords or the elements that are on each card, but also the guidebook. I love this card. The guidebook is what actually gave me the idea for my practice, the weekly practice that I'm going to talk about later. Again, I'm sorry about the noise. Of course, the moment that I start filming, it's when my cats decide that they want to do all their things next to me. So, sorry about that. But yeah, this is a really beautiful deck and it's inspired a weekly practice that I adore. And yeah, it's been a joy working with it. And if you are curious about these, like I said, I have a walkthrough of this deck already on my channel. Prompt number 2 is the most recent addition to your collection. One of the very last decks that I got last year was the Antiquities of Magic Oracle. These one I got from an order that I placed on Salon des Arcans. Pardon my terrible French. This is by Gillian C. Wild, and it's Volume 1 Traditional Tarot Symbols. It's a 50 card poker size deck with a 140-page guidebook. And I think I might do a walkthrough of these on my channel later. These are the backs, and I thought they were really cute. I found this deck on Etsy a really long time ago. It comes etched in black like that. And I love the size of these. They are a silky matte sort of finish, which I really like. And they have an illustration, it's fully illustrated. It has like a burnt parchment background. It has a title and a keyword on it. I found these on Etsy a really long time ago and eventually forgot about it. And then I saw it recently on Marine's channel, The Waves of Your Soul. I really, really love her taste on decks. For the most part, she has a much more eclectic uh, taste in decks than I do. But every time that I watch one of her videos, I always, or pretty much always, find something that I want or something that I already have. And she got this one not so long ago and used it in one of her reading videos on her second channel. And when I saw it there, it reminded me of it. And I was like, okay, now I need to get it. It's the time to get it. And I was placing an order for a different deck in Salon des Arcans. So I thought, why not? Let's do it. I haven't yet worked with these, to be fair and honest, but I am really looking forward to doing so. I love the aesthetics of it. It's going to go with so many of my decks. I'm, of course, also going to use it to read for others in my second channel. but I love how it's so easy to read with, how I don't have to go to the guidebook if I don't want to. Although when I read for myself, I do love going to the guidebook. But of course, when you read for others, you don't really want to go to the guidebook. You want that people that you're reading for to know that you know what you're doing. So I prefer to use oracles like these that have keywords and stuff like that when I read for others. So I know that this one is going to be used for that purpose quite a lot. And because of the colors, I think it's going to go very well with a lot of my decks. I love, love, love that it has vibrant colors and not just like earthy tones or sepia tones and neutral tones, because I'm really not a neutral sepia kind of girl. So even amongst these more vintagey background, you'll find bright colors, and I absolutely love that. So I'm very excited using to get to use this one, and I'll let you know how it goes. I'm thinking that I might want to do a walkthrough of these. Not sure about that yet, but if you want to see a walkthrough of any of the decks that I show in any of my videos, if I don't have one up already, please let me know and I will take care of that. Okay, prompt number 3. A deck that's not your usual style, but you're vibing with it. And for that, I had to choose the Santa Muerte Tarot, Book of the Dead. I got this one secondhand last year. I love the gold foiling in it. It's so pretty. It's one of those more luxurious Los Carabeo decks, but this is really not my style. I've etched mine in red. Red is definitely one of the hardest colors to do. These are the bags, and yeah, I got a used copy of this one last year. I found it for a really good price, but to be honest, I'm not really a skeleton kind of girl. I'm not obsessed with skulls like most of the community. I'm not really into horror. I'm not really into the macabre or the gothic or any of that for the most part. I do appreciate it to some degree, and in some contexts, times of the year, but this is usually not my thing. This is usually not my style. And also the art of Fabio Listrani, I love how detailed it is and how colorful everything is. But this is a little too old school digital type of art for my taste. So this is one that, even though I've seen so many people raving about it for years, I never thought that it was for me. However, this year, if you watched some of my, I think it was the last um, monthly wrap up that I did last year, in the month of September, I lost my mom. And even though I had been honoring my ancestors and calling out to my ancestors, reaching out to them in some ways from the beginning of the year, her death actually um, made me dive very deep into ancestral work. I have not done, and I probably won't do, a wrap up for October, November, December of last year, but especially the month of November, which also happens to be the month where we celebrate Dia de los Muertos, although I'm not Mexican. But I have taken this fellow Latin American tradition into my practice. So I do celebrate Dia de Muertos, and it's also my mom's birthday month. If she had, um, if she hadn't passed, she would have been 70 this year. And so the month of November was a month that I really took the time to work with my ancestors, to reach out to them, to honor them in whichever way I knew how. I do need to do more research into ancestral work. I want to read more books. I want to see more people who have done this for a lot longer than I have. Um, I want to see their practices and stuff so I can integrate some of that into my own. But I did suddenly feel a very strong need for ancestral work and ancestral connection. And this deck, it just feels like that a lot. This is not the way that I see my ancestors or anything, but it has a special energy, perhaps because of my association with Dia de Muertos. You know, the whole aesthetic of the dead of this deck. You can see that it's very based around Dia de Muertos, so it does feel so perfect for an ancestral practice. And even though this totally does not fit with my personal aesthetic, I actually, you're probably going to laugh, but I usually work with my decks on a triplet sort of configuration for my daily pulls and such. And the other two decks that I paired with these was the Boo Tarot, because I really wanted to work with that deck, and the Green Witch Oracle, because I felt like it was sort of a bridge between these two decks aesthetically, because they're completely different. They don't look anything alike, and that deck felt like it could bridge the gap between them. And it was a really beautiful practice. So even though this is completely out of my comfort zone, I really loved working with it. And the guidebook for these actually provides very different meanings, very different wordings for the cards, and I really appreciated that. I feel like the messages that were in that guidebook actually resonated with me more than the typical um, meanings that I already have associated with the cards. With all of my years working with tarot. So it felt, I don't know, it just felt meant to be, and it felt natural to work with it. And it just, I don't know, I really like it. It does have a bit of a special place in my heart now, and I can see myself pulling it out for ancestral work from time to time. Although I have another deck that it's basically my ancestral deck that I use most of the time, but this one will definitely um, be very special and included into that practice. So, yeah, this one caught me by surprise, and I really enjoyed working with it. Prompt number 4, a very favorite deck pairing. And well, this probably will take no one by surprise because I talked about this a lot last year, but it has to be this combo. The Desert Illuminations Tarot and the Cowgirls and Aliens Oracle. Now, both of these decks were decks that I didn't think I would get. I had seen the Desert Illuminations Tarot when it was indie, but I didn't think that it was for me. I saw it plenty, and I don't know, it's so very out there. It comes with these beautiful teal edges, although for me they are starting to peel. I don't know if anyone has had the same issue. I'm probably gonna have to redo them. These are the backs, and this deck was such a joy for me in 2025, which completely caught me by surprise because, again, I didn't think that this was for me. And I just loved it. I loved every second of it. I didn't want to put it away, and I almost didn't. But when you have an extensive collection, you kind of want to work with other things as well, and you kind of want to make time for other things into your practice. This is the Cowgirls and Aliens. It has the most gorgeous silver hollow edges. These are the bags, and it's such a beautiful deck, which again I didn't think I would get because the theme of it is just very out there. I'm not someone that particularly cares for either cowboys or aliens. I don't particularly care for Western movies or stories or things like that. Like I never got into that. But this deck, it was just, I don't know, the colors of it, and it was kind of fun. And I saw this pairing because I cannot take credit for this pairing. I saw it on Sylvia from Fairlight Tarot's channel, and I thought, okay, I need to try that out. And not only was this super duper fun, because it really was, I loved working with it. I used them for Leo season during 2025, but also, especially this one, the guidebook ended up being a really big hit. It gave me much more profound readings that you would expect from a fun deck, but I should know this. I have a very extensive collection of cute and fun decks, and unlike other people, I don't use them only um, for inner child work. This is my favorite card. I have earrings like these of a UFO stealing a cow. um, but yeah, unlike other people, I not only use those decks for inner child work, but I use them all the time. I use them for serious readings. I use them for everything, really. So um, you can perfectly have really profound readings with fun and out there and crazy decks. They don't have to be like particularly esoteric or, I don't know, dark or adult or whatever. And I don't know, I just really enjoyed working with these ones. It was fantastic. And I don't know, these two decks and my time with them during Leo season were a huge highlight of last year. It really was. I loved it. And if either or both of these decks call out to you, if you have them in your collection, I highly recommend putting them together, and especially working with them if you are, having a hard time for whatever reason. Because, yeah, I mean, 2025 was a kick in the butt. It really just was. I cannot sugarcoat it. I can't I can't deny it. So, yeah. These two were a highlight of 2025, and I can see myself pulling them out every year and just having fun with them because they really are so much fun. Then we have divination accessories. Could be dice, journals, altar items, deck mods, bags, clothes, or any accessories bought or made. Well, I usually make bags for my decks. I have a lot of fun choosing fabrics, like these one. Although I haven't made a bag for this one, but I know exactly which deck I'm gonna use it for. Um, but yeah, I just love going online and checking fabrics and choosing specific fabrics for each deck. and making my own bags. But last year I didn't actually do that alone. And instead, on my witchcraft practice, I got very much into making oils, conjure oils, spell oils, however you want to call them. I made a bunch of these last year. This particular one is the one that I call the third eye oil. It's to aid me with readings. I put it as well in one of these roll-on perfume bottles. So this one I mostly like put it in candles. I anoint candles with it whenever I'm reading. I forgot to light that candle, but I don't care. And this one I actually put on my wrists and on my third eye and everything when I'm reading. And I have also these one. Well, I have a bunch, of course, I'm not going to show them all, but I also have this one, which is Van Van oil. And this one is particularly good to aid as well with communication, especially during Mercury retrograde. So I tend to rub a little bit of these on my wrists before filming so I can, be more um, eloquent and expressive when I speak, which doesn't always work in perfection, but nothing ever does. And I have this one, which is a room spray that I made as well. I've also made a lot of room sprays this year. And this one is actually from Anthony's, what's the name of that book? Tarot Grimoire, I think it is. I love that book, and I have made a number of things using her recipes and, of course, her spreads. This one, I think, is the Page of Cups Empath Protection Oil, which I also use before and after readings. And I did, however, make a couple of um, changes. I added my own flair into it. I need to clean this bottle. But yeah, I also love using these little things in my practice. So round number 6, great card bags. For that one, I have chosen the Dreamy Moons Tarot. I have seen this deck all over TarotTube for years. I didn't think that it was for me, but I don't know what it was. I just changed my mind about it sometime last year. And there is this great business if you're in the UK and you um, want to get it indie decks. There is this great business called Tarot by Peachy, and I got mine from there. I also got the Dreamy Moons Oracle, I think is called Cosmic Guidance, which I used a lot on my ratings channel, and it's absolutely fantastic. But look at these bags. They are just beautiful, and everything on the back here is actually gold foil. I mean, can you even? I love how the new lighting doesn't give me, the flare, and you can see the detail in the design. It's absolutely beautiful. But in person, this is really shiny because all of it is in gold foil. And yes, I am a dragon. In fact, I am a dragon in Chinese astrology. I am a magpie. I love all things shiny. I'll shed the 5 of Cups. Fantastic. But yeah, I absolutely love these bags. And the fronts as well. All the details that you can see here in the borders are also gold foil, shiny, bright, beautiful. And yeah, these I chose as my beautiful bags. This is a deck that for the longest time I thought it wasn't for me. And last year, I don't know what it was that changed, but something changed, and I decided that I wanted it. And I struggled for a little while. I love that the suit of pentacles is named the stars. Absolutely adore it. The swords are crystals, and I don't know. I just wanted it. I mean, what a perfect nine of pentacles. It's just beautiful. It really is. And all of these details is just gold foil, so this makes my dragon heart very happy. Everything, all things shiny, I want it all. These makes me happy, happy, happy. All of these. I mean, you can see the reflection of my hands on them. It's gold foil. I love it. But yeah, I wanted it, and for a while I struggled to decide whether I wanted the dark one, which is the one that most people have and love, or this Lightworker edition. And I ended up going for this one because the black one reminded me a little too much of the Zodiac Tarot, which I already have. So I thought that if I brought that one into my collection, I would not reach for the Zodiac Tarot. And that's a shame because I really like the art of the Zodiac Tarot. So I didn't want to displace that deck in my rotation, my use of it. And this one just, I don't know, even though it's not really white, it's more like a creamy color in the background. It feels like watercolor paper or something like that. These feels like an artist, you know, which of course the creator of these, Anita Rasova, is an artist. Obviously, she made all this beautiful art for us, but these particularly has the feel for me of someone's watercolor paintings. I don't know, it just feels more like working with an actual art piece than any other deck in my collection, or most decks in my collection do. I don't know why, but it gave me that feel, and so I decided that this was the one for me, and I have no regrets. I've used it for readings on my other channel, and I really like working with it. It's absolutely beautiful. And again, let's have another look at these really gorgeous bags, because they really are the bee's knees. See, words is just not happening today. But whatever. Here, have a pretty deck. Okay, prompt number 7, a deck with a theme you like. And I could have gone with just about 10 million decks because I really got a lot of themed decks in 2025, but this one was a really big one for me. This is a Jane Austen Tarot, is by Diane Wilkes and Lola Airagi. I'm almost sure that's how you pronounce it. This is by Los Carabeo. I got it from another wonderful small business, Wellness Emporium. So if you are in the UK, highly recommend them. It comes in a two-part box, and this is a new edition that was released for the 250th birthday of Jane Austen. This is a deck that was out of print. These are the backs, really beautiful. This was out of print. It was published many, many years ago in one of those big Los Carabeo boxes. But it went out of print many years ago, and the very few copies that I have seen again around all the secondhand usual places are very, very expensive. And I was not going to pay that much money for any of it. So when Los Carabeos said that they were going to republish it, and this time it doesn't have the big borders that they used to have with all the languages and all that stuff. These are completely borderless. They are a little bit like their talk box kind of cardstock, which I won't complain because it's very easy for me to shuffle. This one, however, has a bit of a linen texture to it, which is not showing. Okay, I can see, you can maybe see it there a little bit, but this has a linen finish to it. So they are, I know they're just going to be fantastic to shuffle, especially for riffle shufflers like me. So, yeah, I was all about this. I've been waiting for these since they announced it at some point. I think it was in 2024 or something. So, when these came out, I jumped on it and I can't wait to use it. I haven't worked with it yet. You probably noticed that it's still in order, but I can't wait. I cannot wait. This is fantastic. It has characters from all of her books. The majors are all full color, and later you will see that the minors actually have colored themes. So here we have the Ace of Cups, and you have we have a book of hers, and the a different book of hers actually, it's highlighted on the aces. This is Persuasion, but it's just on the aces. I thought that the whole suit was going to be around the same book, but not really. I've checked in the guidebook, which of course is one of Los Carabeos multi language guidebooks. But as you can see, on the same suit, the cards are based on different books. So it does tell you the Ten of Pentacles is Mansfield Park. The Maiden of Pentacles, which is the page, is based on Pride and Prejudice. The Knight on Sense and Sensibility. And so the Queen, which here is called the Lady, and the King is called the Lord. Yeah, so they are based on different books. It's not like the whole suit is based on a different one, but they do have a color scheme, which for the cups is these greenish blue. And I just adore everything about these. The art is beautiful, very detailed. The watercolor is fantastic. I just like everything about it, and this new edition is actually perfect. For the pentacles, they highlight sense and sensibility, but again, just like the others, is not just that book for the whole suit. This one is a brownish green, and it's very very beautiful. I loved reading Pride and Prejudice when I did years ago. Although it was in Spanish, I want to read it in English. And one of my favorite movies of all time is the 2005 version of Pride and Prejudice. I want to watch um, the BBC series that a lot of people rave about, but I haven't. And I want to, one of my, I don't know if to call it goals, but one of the things that I want to do this year is to read all of her books and read them in English. I loved the latest adaptation of Emma for the candles, aka the ones. We have Pride and Prejudice here, and it's red and yellow for the most part. Really beautiful. Seriously, love the art on this deck. It's just great. And yeah, I really want to do that. I think I'm gonna do a walkthrough of these at some point, but I kind of want to do it after I read her books because I don't always recognize all the characters. So I kind of want to go a little bit in depth with it. So maybe I'll do it after I read all of her books. For the quills, which are the swords, they used Emma on the A's, really pretty. And these ones are kind of gray, a bluish gray. Well, blue, greenish, gray. It's definitely different than the cups. Let's find the cups card. You can see the difference here. This is much more bluish and this is much more grayish. But yeah, I just love all the art, all the stuff in this deck. I adore it, and I definitely want to work with it this year. And of course, they have one of their advertisement cards in there. So yeah, if you love Jane Austen, if you love period dramas and stuff like that, and want a deck with that kind of aesthetic, jump on this. Absolutely fantastic. And I suppose, on a very similar note, the most beautiful deck that I got this year is one that I have been coveting for a really long time, which is the Victorian Romantic Tarot. I think that I got it this year. Nearly sure, yes. Well, as a person who um, loved and adored tarot tube for a long time, I watched everyone having this deck, but for a myriad of reasons, I wasn't able to get it for the longest time. As you know, Baba Studio decks are not exactly cheap. These are the backs. I have the reprint of the fourth edition. And for a long time, these was also kind of out of print. But I adore the art. I love the how did they call it, the screen printing that they do that make all the cards shiny. I love it. I love it. And I really wanted to get this deck. I do have to admit that this feels like such a luxurious a piece of art in my hands that I haven't actually used it for readings. I pull it out to flip through the cards and look at the art and admire its beauty, and I've shuffled it, as you can see. But I haven't actually used it for readings, and I'm sort of kind of maybe saving it for special occasions, which I have no idea when they're going to be. But I just really, really like this deck, and it's definitely a luxurious kind of experience to have it, to own it, to play with it. I don't know. I love it. I love it. So, yeah, it's definitely something very special. Other Baba Studio decks are still on my wish list. And yeah, I am extremely sad that they are moving away from designing new decks, but they are going to reprint some of their decks before they completely move away from tarot. But with that in mind, if anyone wants to join me on a campaign so they reprint the Fairy Tale Tarot, I would really appreciate it because I most definitely need it in my collections. And I don't have to tell anyone probably that the prices people are asking for uh, the Fairy Tale Tarot on places like eBay and Facebook are absolutely ridiculous. So if anyone wants to join me on a campaign so they reprint that one before they quit, I would really appreciate it. Thank you very much. A deck you wish existed or a unicorn deck that you want. And oh my god, I can go for ages on this category. A deck that I wish existed, I really, really, really wish that there was a really highly stylized, done by an incredible artist, fully illustrated deck of the Lord of the Rings. I have seen several decks, and of course, there is that mass market one, but that mass market is super lazy pips, and I hate it. And the wood cutting sort of aesthetic is cool, but it's not my personal preference. And for a story, a fandom, a something that I love so very, very much, I want something better. I want something out of this world. And none of the things that I have seen so far um, actually fit that description. There is one deck that is currently out of print. It's an indie deck, and I am trying to get my hands on it. I might be able to in the next few months, but it's still not one that I feel it's everything I want. So I definitely want to have a Lord of the Rings deck that it's all bells and whistles, the most detailed, intricate, beautiful, exquisite type of art, fully illustrated, no lazy pips, no nonsense like that. I kind of really want it. I also want a Star Wars deck, another fandom that I absolutely adore. I know that there is one deck out there. Marine has it, and I got my eye on it. It goes in and out of print depending on the creator, and I kind of want it, but it's not my personal preference. It's based on Pixie's art, so um, it has a lot of RWS clone aesthetic to it. There is another creator that does mostly just major arcana decks based on Star Wars, and I have one of them. But I don't really use majors only decks, and I don't want something that has. I mean, I love and respect Pixie, but her art is not really my jam. So I want something that's completely different. And honestly, I also want them to be, I don't know, very futuristic, very, I don't know, I feel like it needs to be done by a digital artist that also uses a lot of color, a lot of detail, a lot of, I don't know. I just really want a Star Wars deck that is based on not just the original trilogy, but Anakin's trilogy, and probably also other things. Maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but I have loved um, other pieces, other things on the lore that maybe other people haven't. I love the Clone Wars series, the Rebels series. I loved Ahsoka, especially Andor. I loved Andor. I really liked the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Not so much Boba Fett's, but yeah. And I did kind of like a little bit the latest trilogy, although nowhere near any of the other two. So it would be nice to have something that actually um, brings in all the Star Wars lore and done by an amazing digital artist that does a futuristic style that has nothing to do with Pixie and uses a lot of color. I would absolutely jump on that like so fast. Take my money. You don't even know. Like I need it. And as far as out of print decks, I would love to get my hands on the Majestic Earth tarot, which, yeah, I know I'm one of millions. I missed out on that deck. I would love for that creator to come back and bring some of her decks back because there is something special about that deck. And no, I'm not paying a month worth of rent for 78 pieces of paper. I'm sorry, but it's not going to happen. I love tarot very much, but I have limits and I don't have that much money to spare, so it's not going to happen. But I would love, love, love to have the Majestic Earth. I would, like I said, also love the Fairy Tale Tarot by Baba Studios. I would adore to have that deck in my hands. If someone can please join me on a campaign so they reprint it. I know that everybody wants the Alice, but I want the fairy tale. Come on, people, help me here. And yeah, I also want the Healing Waves Tarot. I have some of the other decks from that creator, but I really want the Healing Waves. It's just so pretty, and I love that art, and I love the ocean, and I love the beach, and I love the whole thing. I just want it, okay? Someday, someday. Deep breath. It'll happen someday. Okay, moving on. Which card sums up this year as a whole, or a card whose energy you want to bring in? Oh boy. Let me pull out a deck for you to see while I talk. Let's do this one. This one is for a later prompt as well, but this deck is just the cutest, and let's have a look at it while I talk. This is Marisol and Casey of the Year Tarot deck. Super long name. This is by US Star Wheels Game Systems. I don't know how they're called like that because they're in China, but whatever. Mine has this thing and I hate that, but I'll live. um, this year, personally speaking, um, it was a tower year, definitely. It was also my card of the year, the one that you calculate using your date of birth and the current year and all that jazz. For me, it was a tower year, and it definitely showed up. Um, there were a lot of changes, both good and bad. It was the year that I lost my mother, like I said, and I also lost other family members rather unexpectedly. Nothing as hurtful as my mom, nowhere near. I don't think anything could ever be. But yeah, it's also been a year of a lot of anxiety, a lot of feeling very powerless, a lot of feeling very helpless and desperate, and dealing with uncertainty far too much, and not handling everything very well, to say the least. But it also had good things, I suppose. I finally took the plunge and put myself out there. I got filming equipment. I started making videos. I started reading for other people, and it has brought me a few friends that I really appreciate. It has brought me a lot of joy because it does. It's a very nice thing to be able to talk to someone about something that you love so much, because in my real life I don't really know anyone um that is really into tarot. Like, I have friends and family members that call me and ask me to read for them, and it's very nice and lovely to do that. My best friend from forever has actually gotten into oracle cards and stuff like that. I have another good friend that she also has oracle cards and things like that, but they don't love it as much as I do. They are not into these as much as I am. So it's just nice to be able to show up here and talk about something that I love so much with people that I know also do. So that has been absolutely, I don't know. I don't know. It's just something really special of being able to share something that you love. And with my second channel, which I created because I have realized that the people who read cards for themselves don't usually like having other people reading cards for them, at least not for a general reading and things like that. So I decided to separate both spaces inspired by Marine. And of course, um, in this day and age when social media is also changing very quickly, and I don't know, it's probably gonna make it that much harder for me to grow my channels. And yeah, but anyways, it's still something that I really like. I feel very vulnerable when I put readings for others out there in the world, especially um, being someone who has no experience in putting myself out there very often. And yeah, it's been a lot of changes, but I really liked having these outlet for my passions and having a place to express myself, to be myself, to talk about the things that I love, and also to hopefully be of help for other people with my ratings. But yeah, it's definitely been a tower year. I was hoping that it would be more like a chariot because the numbers could be reduced to 7 to the chariot, but no, it was definitely a tower. And I still have a few more months to go because my birthday is in April. So, yeah. Bear with me while I finish my tower year. But I definitely want to bring in the energy of the star. I need the respite after after the upheaval, after the trouble, after all of that. I definitely need the hope, the healing, the guidance because I'm dealing with a number of things in my life that I don't know, I it's so frustrating. I used to be the kind of person who knew everything that I wanted and exactly how I was going to do it, how I was going to get it. I had such a clear vision for myself, and life being life, things didn't turn out the way that I hoped or expected. And so many plans and things that I have been trying to build over the last few years have not panned out, have not happened. And it's very clear that I need to pivot. I need to, at the very least, choose a new approach, but probably even change course completely, which is rather annoying, but it is what it is. So, I don't know. I have lost all of that. I have lost all of that clarity. I have lost, I don't know, so much of that. And I do certainly want guidance, divine guidance, and my ancestral guidance, and just about, I don't know, I need some pointers here because I no longer know everything or anything, and I'm tired. If I can be really honest, I'm tired. And it's not a good moment to be tired because we are out here fighting fascism and a bunch of bullshit, if I can be fairly honest and use the words that I would use in my regular life, even though this is YouTube. We cannot afford to give up. So I'm gonna need some pointers here. I'm gonna need healing and renewal and hope because life has been a shit show this year and for a few years for me personally. So I definitely need things to get better. So yeah, I definitely want to bringing the star um, in my practice. So yeah, this beautiful deck here, I said it was for a later prompt because it's a deck that I really want to work with this year. I will probably use it during my birthday month, so in April, and it fits so beautifully with that season. This year, cute decks like these have brought me the most joy, and they probably will as well during this year. So, yeah, I'm probably going to be working with a lot of really cute decks this year. um, okay, so now we have a tarot practice reflection. And I try to be very consistent with my daily pulls this year. However, I am going through a lot. I'm also sure that I have ADHD, although I haven't been officially diagnosed. But routines are something that it's hard for me to grasp onto, but it's also something that I really like and something that I feel I need. But honestly, I'm very mercurial, I suppose, in that kind of sense, because I don't seem to be able to stick to something religiously, to call it somehow. So my practice has been very up and down. However, there are some highlights, some things that I've done that I really enjoy. And one of them was the practice that I talked about before. And it's weekly cards. I started with the Alchemy of the Spirit. I loved um, hearing Lisa Papes talk about. She has this special old school unicorn tarot that basically it has a unicorn in all of the cards interacting with the humans and stuff. And I loved when she said that she sees the unicorn as a spiritual guide for her. And that deck kind of shows her how spirit has been showing up in her life, or during her day, through those cards. And I kind of wanted something like that in my practice, you know? So when I got this deck and I started working with it, it's basically it's mostly about like signs from spirit and things like that. So let me show you the guidebook here for a moment. Let's look at the deer, for example, which is number 36. It's divided into different suits, sort of. We have cards of signs, cards of spirits, which is the suit of this little guy, and cards of situations. But I always just shuffle this deck at the beginning of the week. And here it says, the deer, a spirit of loyalty, keep your promises. The spirit of the deer says, be faithful to yourself. If you made a promise to your heart, fulfill it. If you said you were going to do something, do it. Let your word be worth trusting. And it does have a beautiful write up. At the bottom, it says imbalance and out of balance. So, like a more light and shadowy aspects to the card. But when I shuffle this deck at the beginning of the week, usually a Monday or a Tuesday, I like to ask it, how is a spirit showing up for me this week? Right? How is a spirit showing up for me this week? And whatever the message that I get, when I get something like this, I take it as a message from spirit that they're either showing me their loyalty to me, or they are asking me to show my loyalty to them. For example, if I were to pick the seashore, a moment of revelations, I take these as they are going to reveal something very important for me. If I take one for the third from the third suit, like the angel, a sign of guidance and protection, is that they're telling me that I'm being guided and protected. So I like to use this deck in that way, in a way that tells me how a spirit is showing up in my life. I tend to follow that with a tarot card. I just noticed the box is dirty. I need to clean it. And I use this beautiful deck. This is the Dream Visions Tarot, the latest edition, the Seed of Light edition. I didn't think that this deck was going to be for me, and then she came up with this beautiful colorway that is just about everything and then some, and then I suddenly needed it. These are the bags. It has these beautiful yellow edges and these gorgeous colors, and I'm pretty sure that it's pretty obvious to see that the colors just go really well with the alchemy of the spirit, except for the greens of the pentacle suit, because the colors on the alchemy of the spirit are very pastel, and the greens are very vibrant in this deck. Yeah, I think that even the dark blues go very well with it, but for some reason the greens just don't do it as much. And you can see it here. Thankfully, it has a lot of yellow as well, so that does tie together very nicely. Although, yeah, the greens are just not the best sort of pairing. But I really like this deck, and I love how ethereal it feels. How it definitely does feel like you are talking to a higher being, to a higher power, to something, I don't know, very big, very powerful out there. So they are a very good match for me. So, what I usually do is, after reading the message that the alchemy of the spirit gives me, I tend to ask this deck a question um, based on that message, right? So, if we have the deer, which is a sign of loyalty, according to the guidebook, um, I would probably ask it, what can I what can I do to show loyalty to my people or my practices? Because loyalty can be interpreted in so many ways. Could be loyalty to myself, keeping the promises that I make to myself. Could also be loyalty to my people, showing up for someone I love. Could be, again, loyalty to my practice, to my deities, to spirit, to my ancestors. But I suppose a better question, perhaps more general, leaving room for all these possibilities, could be, how can I best show loyalty in my life right now? And I would pick a card from this deck. Okay, and it's given me the Seven of Swords. Yeah, just being honest with myself and others is the best way that I can show loyalty during this week, because these are weekly cards for me. Okay, I tend to do these every single week, and I also really like the guidebook. I think I saw somewhere that previous editions of this deck did not include a guidebook. This one does. It's rather tiny, but it does have a lot of information, and there is usually something in here that really resonates with me at the time. For the Seven of Swords here, we have, first of all, we have the decan information, 20 to 30 degrees of Aquarius, moon in Aquarius. And it says betrayal, deception, or evasion of responsibility. This card reflects the unstable energy of a mind divided by inauthentic intentions. It suggests that someone may be trying to get away with something. Be cautious of untrustworthy individuals before making decisions. Potentially, it may indicate a desire for independence as long as you approach the situation with honesty and integrity. To this practice, I added another indie deck. This is the Weird Weavings, Threads of Feminine Wisdom by Faina Laura. And I saw this deck for the first time in Krista from Krista Chronicles channel. She loves the art of Faina Laura, and I have to say that I do too. And this is probably my favorite deck of hers. It doesn't have many cards because the runes, the Norse runes, are only 24. But this is such a beautiful deck. It combines a Norse rune, it has a keyword here, but it also has a Norse goddess, it has an animal, and it has a plant in there. So I incorporated this one because I am in the process of learning the runes. I used to, um, I think that was in 2024 though, but I used to pick up or pull a rune, a glass rune, every week as well as part of my practice. And I replaced that glass rune with a card rune with this deck when this deck got into my life. And it's helping me as well learn about Norse deities, mostly goddesses, because they are all feminine here. And at the same time, we have animal medicine and plant medicine, and it's really really beautiful. This, however, is a little bit disconnected from this because this is for me just how spirit is showing up in my life at the moment. This one, I always ask it, what do I need to know about this week? So it gives me a general energy of the week, and I really like it. It's helping me in my um, journey of learning the runes. And I actually really like working with it. I'm gonna leave it here because Fehu, of course, it's my favorite rune, and it's just really cool. I love the message of abundance and prosperity and fertility, so I'm gonna leave this one on the top. And last but not least, I do love a good affirmation. So, of course, I bring in these fancy little guy, the Little Frog's Guide to Self Care, which are 52 affirmation cards for self love and empowerment. So, I'm pretty sure that if you follow Marine, you have seen this deck. I saw it randomly once and I thought, okay, this she would love. I didn't think it was for me. And then she got it and showed it on her channel, and just the messages that are in this card, in the deck, in all the cards, they don't sugarcoat things, they don't gloss over things, they don't bypass the difficulties of life or anything else. They just are. They show up and they are real, you know? So even when you are going through hard times, these always tells you, gives you a message that doesn't feel phony. It does ring home. And I haven't been disappointed by it. I haven't been disappointed at all. It always tells me something that I really need to hear. So I love to have these I have all four, like the cards of the week. I have them in my bookshelf where I can see them in card holders for the entire week, and they always tell me something that I really need to hear. This deck is such a joy. Honestly, to me, is the best affirmations deck that exists, and I have a few because I love affirmations. This one is definitely the best out there. I love it. And I, of course, love all the colors and how whimsical and how, I don't know, this is a special. This is a fabulous froggy wearing amazing shoes and a very cute mushroom hat, and occasionally little animals show up, and she also has a potato friend and butterfly wings, and it's just, I don't know, I just love this deck. I just love this deck. So this has become a really beloved weekly practice for me. I don't always do it every single week. Sometimes I forget. Sometimes I'm not in the mood. Sometimes, I don't know, life, okay? And I don't always do it every single week, but I try to because it's just really good. I really love it, and I'm going to continue with this practice without changing any of the decks for 2026. I currently have my weekly cards that I picked yesterday on the bookshelf. I didn't bring them with me, but they are really good and have me very excited um, for everything that this week has in store. And I will continue using these particular decks um, in this particular practice during 2026 and probably until it doesn't feel right anymore. I don't want to say forever, but I love having things that are constant, stable, that feel like an anchor. Is one of the reasons why I love routines, but I can't seem to make any of them stick for the long run. Another practice that I really enjoyed was the the envelopes that Lisa Papes made popular. So many of us in TarotTube started doing this practice, and last year it really resonated with me. It really did, and it feels exciting. It feels, I don't know, I like it. I really do. I have my own way of doing it. Um, Let me know if you guys want me to make a video around my envelopes of the year. And one of the things that I did is having a envelope that it's for a year overview. It gives me something about the whole year. So I do have one envelope for each month, and I have envelopes for each new and full moon of the year. And I have a great number of decks. In my personal readings and the readings that I do for the people that I love, I tend to bring out a ton of decks. I can have like a single tarot and then like seven oracle decks. I love to bring in a lot of cards for my readings. So of course I'm going to use a bunch of a bunch of decks, mostly oracles. Um, for this practice, let me take these out to make more space because, yes, my envelopes are chunky and I have a, a huge number of cards and decks in here. This one is from the Believe in Your Own Magic Oracle. Love it. And for me, I put one card on each envelope to kind of give me a general energy for the month, in this case for the year, because I'm showing you the contents of my 2026 year overview envelope. So this is a year of change, make the change. So I'm not done yet with my tower year. Hopefully, the changes will be ones that I make rather than ones that are imposed on me. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a year for me to action a number of things. Then when I pull the tarot, I love to do three cards, one for the blessings, one for challenges, and one for something that I need to know. And I usually pair an oracle card for that. The decks that I've chosen for 2026 are the Fairy Tale Tarot. This is by Lisa Hunt, is the US Games republishing of last year, and I got it because I love fairy tales and I have a fairy tale decks collection, but I haven't worked with it. And I decided to combine it with the Fairy Tale Heroine Oracle, also new from last year. This is published by Hay House and it's created by Sharon Blackie. And of course, I had to get it from my collection. I got it at the end of the year during one of their 50% sales that they had during Black Friday. And the moment that I opened this deck, I don't know, I just had, I don't know if I should call it an epiphany, but I had an aha moment, because I have felt so powerless, so helpless, so disempowered over the last few years that these totally gave me the theme that I needed for this year. And I decided to go with these decks because I wanted to be the year where I become the hero in my own story. I want it to be the year where I take control of all of this stuff and I just take power back, all of that stuff. So, yeah, the fairy tale heroine, this oracle right here, was the one that sprung that idea. So, I built my entire practice, my entire envelope set around this concept. So, we have the King of Cups and Dismemberment as my blessing cards. The King of Cups, of course, is about emotional maturity, emotional regulation. It tells me that I'll perhaps learn how to navigate whatever happens in my life with a lot better emotional regulation without letting my emotions take the best of me, without feeling emotionally and mentally overwhelmed, taking control of that. And I love that as a blessing. Dismemberment here is about the loss of something very special, the loss of something very important, and how it changes the heroine. In the particular story, I cannot remember the name, but in the particular story that they talk about here, the princess actually learns how to grow despite that loss and eventually regrows her own hands. So it's about recovering, healing, and everything after a big loss and learning how to grow from that. And again, I just lost my mom. And I think that I have also lost a great number of things. I have lost my power, my confidence in myself, my direction in life. I mean, I could go on with this kind of stuff, but I don't really want to get into it right now. I just want to say that it really does resonate for me, and I hope that I can fully step into this medicine, into this idea, because it is something that I really, really need. It would be a massive blessing for me to actually come out of the other side better. So, absolutely fantastic. For challenges, I have Entrapment, which in this deck is the Hanged Man. I fucking hate it. And I have Frog. In this deck, Frog, it talks about how the princess has to surrender a number of things. She has to reject the status quo. She has to reject other people's expectations. She has to reject other people's demands on her and this kind of stuff. And it's only after she rejects these kind of things that she gets the blessing. She talks about how in the original story, when the princess gets really really tired of all of the demands and things that people are imposing on her, and she grabs the frog and throws it against the wall, it is at this moment when the frog turns into a prince and the curse is broken. And it was only in later iterations of the tale where the frog turns into a prince after she kisses him, but not in the original story. So this talks about rejecting the status quo, stepping up for yourself, um, rejecting things that you didn't want for yourself, something that feels like a bad bargain, a bad deal, a bad something, an entrapment. This is exactly how I'm feeling in my life. When the hangman shows up for me, in my personal experience, I know that it means a change of perspective. Of course, in a position when it reflects challenges, it's also talking about how difficult it is going to be for me to see things from a different perspective. But in my personal life, in my personal practice, when the hangman shows up for me, it talks about being stuck. It talks about being trapped in a very uncomfortable position. It talks about not being able to get out of it. So I was extremely frustrated when I pulled this. But yeah, it definitely reflects my reality and the things that I'm going through in my life. I also like that Frog also talks about how things that may not look very pleasant at first sight end up being blessings in disguise. So I don't know. I like to think that some of the things, because this resonates with me so much, I feel like I'm having to sacrifice things that I really want or that are important for me in order to keep with the status quo and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. These cards really speak to me. That's all I'm saying. And then I have the something I need to know um, category, which for me in my personal practice, and it has a little dot in there and it bothers me. um, in my personal practice, when I read for myself, this is kind of a wild card, and it can show as a particular circumstance, a particular person, or a general energy that surrounds the month. It could show up as advice, it could show up in many different ways. This is a wild card. It doesn't tell me something completely specific, but it talks about something important that can show up at any given time. In this one, I got the Hermit, which asked me to take time for myself, and also with the story and the guidebook and everything that's in this particular deck. I mean, it's really doing wonders for me so far. It also talks about divine connection, because this fairy here is a divine being, a supernatural being. And even though this little girl is rooted in reality and so much of that, she's taken time to connect with the supernatural. So this was a card that also talked not just about introspection, but taking time for my spiritual practice, taking time to connect with my ancestors, taking time um, to find solace in this type of practice, which is something that I do on my own. I don't have anyone near me that has a similar or same practice as I do. So, yeah, this is something that I do on my own. And in the card of the stepmother is a very interesting one, because she talks about how the villains in these stories are a little bit misunderstood. There are um, logical reasons for the things that they have done in their stories and how they are facing very real problems and prejudices and this kind of stuff, but also how the things that they have done are still bad, are still, you know, evil, and they should be met with consequences. So this asks me to try to understand better the people who are antagonists in my own personal story and know that actions have consequences, whether they be mine or they be from other people's. So it's a very interesting reading, and I don't know, I'm just really resonating a lot with the cards that I have picked. This is also a new deck, well, new to me because it's not really new. These cards are from the Blessed Be Oracle by Lucy Cavendish, and it's published by Blue Angel. Um, I have been eyeing this deck for a really long time, but I hadn't pulled the trigger. And then I decided at the end of last year that I really wanted to have this because, again, I'm going through it. So I wanted to have something really positive, and the idea of receiving blessings every single month, and in this case, also during the year, was very appealing to me. So I got it, and I'm using it this year in all of my envelopes, and I have to tell you that it has one of the most beautiful guidebooks that I have ever read, which I expected because Lucy Cavendish, love her. Her guidebooks are everything. But this particular one feels like a balm, that a calming balm, a healing balm that I'm putting over my wounds. It feels like such a beautiful thing that I am receiving that I think I'm gonna use it from now on all of my yearly envelopes because it's just beautiful. Sitting with these messages, with the things reading in the guidebook and everything, has been such a beautiful part of my practice that it's been the best part about reading these envelopes, and it gives me something really positive to take out from this whole thing and hopefully to expect to receive. So it's absolutely beautiful. I highly recommend it. This was the first one that I got for this year, A Blessing from Your Ancestors, which again, my mom has joined them now, and I have been working with them extensively since November last year. So these felt so beautiful, honestly, and the message is it really touched me. Then I have A Blessing for the Right Words, which again, it also feels very necessary with everything that I have to do and everything that I'm going through. So it's such a beautiful thing. And then A Blessing of Fire, which also just, these talks about the inner fire, keeping that inner fire alive, your passions, the things that drive you, the things that make you happy. And also, the power of fire on removing things from your way, removing what no longer serves you, and all of that jazz. These just feel, I don't know. These cards right here have been my favorite in the envelope. This one, I used it in my envelopes last year, and I really like this deck. I love Katie Daisy's art. This is the Wild Offerings deck. It's an oracle by Hay House, and it doesn't have a guidebook. It has the message right here. Again, I love Katie Daisy's art, and this deck was so not just accurate on its messages last year, but it was also really healing as well. And again, we have a card of change, and yeah, I just to me, this card also represents change. So 2026 is a big year of change for me. Then I have despair, and I almost wanted to cry when I pulled this card. But yeah, it's been a constant feeling for me over the last few years, and I hate it. But I suppose I also need to accept it, and these to me is also directly related to that. And well, you get it. But this card also talks a lot about things that we need to give to the divine, and yeah. And of course, courage, um which, yeah. Ah, man, I'm tired. That's all I can say right now. I'm so tired. But anyway, with everything that's going on in the world, it makes sense. This one is from two of my favorite creators. Um, this is the Witches Familiars Oracle deck by Deborah Blake and Elizabeth Alba. They are the creators of the Everyday Witch Tarot, which is my favorite tarot deck ever. And they have a number of oracle decks as well. And this one I pick sort of like a familiar, right? A spirit animal, a totem animal to go with me every month. And for the year, I have the wild boar. This card also relates a lot to the blessing of fire, to change. And to me, it also talks about Aries and Mars and that fiery, passionate energy. So yeah, there's going to be something rather interesting about this card this year and the wild boar. It also talks about anger and how we use our anger in our everyday lives. I've been loving using this deck. So it's another that's coming back on these envelopes this year. Okay, well, sorry guys, my battery died and I needed to charge my phone so I could be able to film again. So if anything looks different, that's why. Sorry about that. Well, I've been talking for long enough, so let's finish this. And yeah, the next deck that I'm using, I actually discovered it thanks to Marine again. This is the Gods, Goddesses, and Guardians, I think it's called. And it's an oracle by Hay House. I really like it because it's a deity deck, although it has more than just gods and goddesses. It has spirits as well, which is really nice. But aside from being multicultural, which is fantastic, it also has the divine masculine included in it. And don't get me wrong, I love the divine feminine, but I really like to have a balance within those energies. So it was really nice as well to get a little bit of that included. So for the whole year, I picked three cards from this deck. So it gives me three sort of energies, deities, and stuff to work with throughout the whole year. I got Asclepius with sacred medicine. He's the Greek god of medicine and healing, a son of Apollo, which is really nice. I also got King Neptune with sensitivity. This is not focusing on these cards. Okay. It's not the sexiest Poseidon that I've ever seen, but that's not the point. I really like the sensitivity keyword, and the messages really do resonate as well. And I also got the Star Maiden with rest. And on the guidebook as well, it said that she is a Greek goddess called Asteria, which I didn't know that she existed, but in case you're new here, I am completely obsessed with everything stars and moon and stuff like that. So I am definitely going to be looking into her because she might be someone that I actually like to work with. And these cards definitely remind me Asclepius, which relates as well a lot with the dismemberment and the King of Cups here. Um, it has a lot to do with healing for me. Um, it has a lot to do with healing. Also related to the King of Cups, the King Neptune with sensitivity, and the fact that I need to um, embrace my sensitive nature and stop fighting against my emotions, against my feelings, and all these things, and instead learning to work with them, learning to regulate them and manage them better and not let them to get the best of me, but rather use them in my favor somehow. So that seems really good. And rest, well, I'm not entirely sure, but I guess it's here to remind me that I can't be in go, go, go mode the entire time, because there's a lot of change happening, there's a lot of fire, there's a lot of um, things that are going to happen and that I need to do. And this is to remind me that I need to make space for rest. I need to make space to recharge my batteries and to take care of myself. I also love seeing her there because in the guidebook it says that she is also the character, the woman that appears in the star card, and that's definitely energy that I want to bring in. It represents everything that I talked about before. So that's also a confirmation for me, although my star year technically doesn't start until my birthday in mid late April. So we'll see. And also from last year, like all of these decks are used last year. But also from last year is Kyle Gray's 22 Archangels Oracle. I really do like working with angels. I always include them in my spiritual practice. And even though I don't really use angel decks as much anymore, I do really like to use them in my practice. This is a tiny oracle, only 22 cards, but since I only use it in my yearly, monthly envelopes, that doesn't like bother me too much. Not really. And I got a pair of angels. Last year I only picked one, but this year I'm picking two. So I have three deities, three spirits, two angels, and one totem animal, one spirit animal. And I got two angels that are basically related to the color purple and change, metamorphosis, transmutation, and all these kinds of things. So, again, all of the themes get reinforced here. So, there's change and metamorphosis, there's healing, there's release, there's um, and a new edition of this year. These were a couple of decks that I wanted to include in my envelopes last year, but I forgot. This year I made sure to include them. And again, these are energies, elements, things for me to work with. So these kind of last bit, these last categories are not really trying to be predictive or anything like that, but rather tools, companions, um, you know, things for me to work with throughout the year. And I picked three colors. I love color. I really want to get into the psychology of color and color therapy and all that jazz. So I do want to incorporate color more into my practice. Of course, I am familiar with color magic and all that jazz. But yes, I wanted to include also color. This is from The Secret Language of Color Oracle by Ina Sigal. And I picked three colors to work with throughout the year. So we have pearl, and the it says connect to the divine, which again, I have my ancestors here. I have these fairy in the hermit. There's a number of things in here that talked about connecting to the divine in its different forms. I have aqua. It says experience peace and calm, which again, to me, also relates to the King of Cups and emotion regulation, letting go of despair, um, resting, finding peace, and all of these kind of stuff. And I also have black, find richness from the dark night. And this one talked about black not only as a color of protection, but on how to integrate the shadow and the lessons that we can learn from our dark night of the soul. So these are colors that I will be working with and incorporating into my day to day somehow. I'll have to get back to you in ways that I find on how to work with them. But something really great that I like about the guidebook on these oracle is that it tells you some of the associations that these colors have, but also they give you a ritual like a meditation or something that you can do to work with the colors, which is fantastic. And I also pulled a few crystals. And this one is from the crystals deck. This is one of those decks that comes in a cigarette type box and it's just crystals. It's a beautiful illustration. It has the name of the crystal. Here it has some sort of keywords, but these are basically associations, properties that are attributed to each crystal. And in the back, it tells you here a lot of information about the crystal. So it gives you the appearance, the look of the crystal, some of the associations. This one is, for example, associated with the sign of Leo, the month of August, and especially lucky when born on a Sunday. I'm actually a Leo rising, so that's pretty cool. History and lore, and the uses here, like metaphysical and magical uses that you can apply to the crystal. So that is pretty cool. And I have three crystals for this year. I have sardonyx to help with courage and communication. I have opal to help with wisdom and strength. And again, we see everything related again. We have courage down here, a blessing for the right words. So there is definitely communication and stuff. Everything ties together so nicely. And last but not least, I have tourmaline for confidence and expression. So that is actually really cool. And the last card is a deck that I also discovered thanks to Marine. This one is called the Self Love Oracle. And I have come to really, really like this oracle. So much so that I used it last year, not just on the monthly envelopes, but also in the moon envelopes, both new and full. So I saw different cards of it at least 3 times a month for the whole year, and it has really beautiful and deep messages, a lot of wisdom, a lot of how to take care of yourself, and things that you can do to work on your self esteem and to just be good to yourself, really. So I'm bringing it back as well. And this one says, dance. Change is not possible without movement, and movement is everywhere in the universe. You are invited to join in the dance. In the guidebook, it also talks about how physical movement can help with releasing stuck patterns and energies in your everyday life, how it also helps mental health and a lot of these things. So I will definitely apply these as much as I can. I used to actually take dance classes many years ago, so I'm not sure if that will be possible at all for me in the near future or throughout this year at all. But yes, I'm definitely going to apply all the advice and all the tools that I've been given here. I know it looks like a lot and it might be a lot for many people, but I do like to do big readings and take cards from many decks in my usual readings. And on my monthly readings, I'm not doing as many. I only have one of these, one guide, one angel, one color, one crystal. So there's less elements on my monthly ones, but I did add on the monthly ones. I added a Lenormand deck. I'm still working on learning Lenormand, and I used a whole deck. You know, it has 36 cards, so I can have 3 cards per month, and it uses the entirety of the deck. And of course, I had to use the fairy tale Lenormand that also Lisa Hunt made. So it's perfect. It's not on my yearly. I would like to practice and do a whole grand tableau for me this year and then for the quarters and stuff like that, even if it's just to practice, you know? Um, but yeah, I would actually love to do that. And another addition that I have is the mini deck of the Witches Runes and Witches Familiars, also by Hay House, and it's made by Athene Noctua. Another rune deck, more of my practicing and trying to learn the runes and that kind of stuff. So I put 2 of those cards on every monthly envelope, and again, it uses up the whole deck. I really liked working with it last year because I also used it last year, so I'm doing it again. Is one that I'm also bringing back, and I did use a Lenormand last year, but it was the Little Ghost or the Happy Ghost Lenormand by Celia Melville. So it looks like the Boo Tarot. It's really cute. That's the one that I used last year, but now it's free for me to use in my regular practice. And I'm going with a fairy tale one this time. So, yeah, I've been talking quite too much, as I usually do. If you want me to make a video on my last year's envelopes and that kind of, and this year's envelopes or anything, please let me know. I love watching these type of videos from other people, and I also think I want to make a video on my planner and journals. And I don't know if anyone is going to watch that, but I do love watching other people's videos on that theme, on that, yeah, on that matter. So I might make one on of my own for 2026. So yeah, if there is also any other kind of content that you would like to see from me, leave it in a comment and I will see what I can do. There is, of course, a pull a card for the new year or a deck that you want to use this year. And I'm just showing you my whole year overview with a bunch of cards. And this beautiful deck that I showed you earlier is one that I definitely want to work with this year. So I'm not going to keep talking. I'm just going to thank you all for being here, for watching. If you did, if you made it to the end, you are a superhero in my eyes. Thank you very much for listening to me yapping for well over an hour. Because I'm sure that this video is going to be well over an hour. So, yeah, thanks for listening to me yapping. And thank you for being patient for me to come back and make new content. And I hope that you stick around. If you would like to check out my second channel, I will eventually start uploading new readings and stuff. I'm gonna be filming for that channel as well. And if not, well, thank you very much for being here anyway. I hope that you had a great start of this year. Let's hope for all of our sakes that it is better than the last one. And I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.